This is the story of an evil doll. Once upon a time, there was a family that lived in a house. They were moving into a house. When they moved in, their landowner, the person that owned the house before them, had died. And they passed away. But when they came in their house, they didn't know what was coming. When they come in their house, there was a doll sitting in the living room on a chair with some sort of type red liquid that looked like blood on her hands. So when they saw this doll, they thought it was ketchup or something. So they just washed it and gave it to their little girl. A few days later, stuff started happening. Chairs were moving. The doll was moving from place to place. One day, when they came in from a town, they went somewhere, but when they come into their house, the doll was sitting in the living room on the floor. And they had put the doll in the closet before they left. So when this stuff started happening, they got a little freaked out. So that night, they heard their little girl start screaming, and they ran to their room. And there, the evil doll was standing up. What it looked like it was. And then it flew up into the air and then dropped down on the floor. After that, their dad got the doll and went and threw it in a fire he made. Just this fire. So a few days later, everything was fine. Until it came back. When they came back from another trip to town, the doll was all burnt up, sitting in the same spot where it was the few days before when they found it. So, this made them a little freaked out. They called a priest to bless the house and to look at the doll and see what was wrong with it. So, he said he would take the doll with him. So he took it with him. A few days later, the priest was dead, and the doll was back at the house. This is what got them all creeped out. They threw the doll in the fire and burnt everything that he had been by. For some reason, those stuff been going way up in the air and been thrown at him by some sort of creature. So they made another fire and threw everything in it again. They chopped up the doll to little pieces and threw it in. And then the next day, the doll was gone, but the spirit was still there. That night, their little girl was sleeping and somehow died in her sleep. She was buried and they didn't know what had happened, so they left the house. When they moved to a new house, the doll was in the house that they just moved to. When they had chopped it up in little pieces, it was perfectly fine. And then all of a sudden it floated up, hovering up in the air, and then threw it at him. Then there was giggling, chairs, all that stuff was getting thrown at him. And then a knife flew and stabbed the mom in the head. The dad was running for his life out to the road until a truck came and hit him. And that's the end of the story. The doll, the spirit of the doll, still goes around today. This is where everything was burned. and the doll might be at your house next.